From Vermont Public, this is The Frequency. I'm Mitch Wertlieb. It's Monday, October 20th, and here are today's headlines. The federal government shutdown could jeopardize food benefits for more than 60,000 Vermonters starting next month. The Trump administration recently told state officials there won't be enough money to fund the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program if the shutdown runs through October. Secretary of Human Services Jenny Samuelson briefed lawmakers last week on the situation.
We have been exploring what it would look like to potentially backfill the program with state funds in the interim basis, but it looks like the federal contingency plan may make that impossible.
Samuelson says that's because the federal government may shut down the system that allows money to be deposited on SNAP recipients' electronic benefits cards. Vermonters receive a total of about $13 million per month in SNAP benefits. Vermont is joining a coalition of 20 state attorneys general suing the Trump administration for canceling the federal Solar for All program. Vermont was supposed to receive $62 million through that program. The goal was to help low-income households access solar and lower their electric bills. Vermont officials had already started using some of that money to stand up solar programs. Plans included boosting community solar, providing subsidies for low-income households, and adding solar panels to affordable housing developments. But in August, the state learned most of the promised money was gone. Charity Clark is Vermont's Attorney General.
There is a tremendous amount of money at stake, in addition to a gross constitutional violation and a violation of federal law.
Vermont accuses the Environmental Protection Agency of violating federal contract law and usurping the will of Congress. The EPA declined to comment on active litigation. State health officials say families who have been waiting to get their young kids the latest COVID-19 vaccine should be able to soon. The Vermont Department of Health says the shots are coming in now and should be available over the next few weeks. This year, the Trump administration restricted COVID vaccine access for children, but the state issued its own guidance. It recommends anyone 6 months or older who wants a vaccine get one, especially those at high risk for severe illness. The state's standing order allowing Vermonters to get COVID vaccines at pharmacies does not apply to children younger than 5. The department says families should check with their health provider to learn more about when the vaccines might become available. And the Vermont Community Broadband Board has approved funding for a program to help low-income households connect to a high-speed fiber network. Brittany Watson is the board's digital equity officer. She says the state only had enough money to pay for a portion of the almost $13 million in requests that came in.
All of the applications were great. And we also knew that we didn't have the amount of funds to be able to fund all of the requested amounts.
The board approved just under $8 million for what's known as the Long Drop program. It'll cover the extra costs associated with homes that are down long driveways. And the money should help connect more than 2,000 households across the state. Coming up, the need for housing in Vermont is critical, but actually getting projects off the starting block has been difficult, especially in many small towns. But Vermont Public's Carly Berlin has been following one Upper Valley developer who's gotten dozens of apartment projects to the building stage. We'll find out how after this. Building housing in small towns is easier said than done. But one developer in the Upper Valley town of Fairleigh has gotten a lot of attention for kickstarting dozens of apartments. As reporter Carly Berlin finds, state officials want more people to follow his lead.
Not so long ago, Jonah Richards spent his days working for a white-collar consulting firm in New York City. But now he fills his time bopping between construction sites in the corner of Vermont where he grew up.
It's crunch time here. We got our big inspection tomorrow.
On a crisp fall morning, 34-year-old Richard checks in with his crew. They're putting the finishing touches on 6 apartments carved out of a barn behind a general store in Fairleigh. It's been owned by Richard's family for generations. To fit a bonus apartment in the basement here, Richard's crew lifted up the barn where his uncle used to run an antique shop.
We jacked it up a little bit and then dug it out underneath, poured new foundation, and created extra living space.
That philosophy, trying to squeeze more housing into any possible nook and cranny in a building and in a town, it guides all of the projects that Richard takes on through his small construction company and development business.
Everything we do is infill development. There's no sprawl and subdivisions. Everything we want to do is in village centers and downtown. So maximizing density is a lot.
And maximizing density, he's doing. Right in Fairley's village center, a summer tourism hub of about 1,000 year-round residents, Richard's outfits have built nearly 20 homes and are planning 45 more. Next door to the general store at Town Hall, zoning administrator Chris Brimmer says Richard's work here has gotten Fairley much closer to reaching the town's target to add 100 homes by the end of the decade.
We're lucky to have him here. I don't think we would get this far along in meeting that goal if were not for him having come back to town.
Before he came back, Richard had used some of his income to buy fixer-uppers in New Jersey. Then, in 2020, when his grandmother was looking to sell a long vacant post office turned bank in Fairley, he saw an opportunity. In its place, he dreamed up an 8-unit apartment building with retail on the ground floor, something that could help revive the village center. Some people balked, said Brimmer.
There was some pushback on the appearance of the building, some pushback on the density of the building. But he was able to work through the problems, and holy cow, within less than a year, there was a 3-story building on the site.
Richard waded through the permitting and financing and construction process for that first project, learning everything as he went. More risk-averse souls might have walked away. In rural Vermont, it often costs more to build new homes than developers can expect to sell or rent them for. Bringing in public money to fill that gap can bring its own host of complications. And tons of towns don't have the infrastructure needed for new housing. Which all means developers like Richard need to be major problem solvers.
We need and want a Jonah in every town.
That's Alex Farrell, Vermont's housing commissioner. Richard caught his eye for 2 reasons. First was Richard's tenacity in figuring out how to build small-scale rentals in a rural part of the state. And second was Richard's drive to teach others what he's learned.
He's not thinking of it as competition. He's trying to say, here's what I've learned. Go benefit from my my mistakes and my successes. That's so cool.
Richard has a popular newsletter where he documents his work, like his challenges building septic systems in Fairley where there's no town sewer, and the time he got hit with a surprisingly huge tax bill after getting an affordable housing grant. The newsletter isn't the only way Richard's trying to prompt more people to get into the housing game. He helped state officials make a textbook for small-scale developers, which the state is now gearing up to use in a training series, Farrell said.
We think this could actually be something that has a snowball effect in spinning off more and more developers, more people doing this.
That's Richard's ultimate hope, too. On a drive around to his projects, he says he sometimes gets calls from people on the opposite side of the state asking if he's interested in taking on a development they're eyeing.
It's like, part it's like definitely flattering, but also it's you need to develop your own network of developers there that can tackle those projects. And it all comes down to somebody, 1, having the time, and 2, being willing to take that risk. And the best person to do that is somebody in the community that knows it inside and out.
Richard had thought he'd finish that first project and flip the experience into a job back in New York, which could earn him more money. But for now, he plans to stay right here, living on the top floor of that first apartment building he built in Fairley. Carly Berlin, Vermont Public, Fairley.
That was Report for America Corps member Carly Berlin. Carly covers housing and infrastructure for VT Digger and Vermont Public. Thanks for listening to The Frequency today. We had additional reporting from Peter Hirschfeld, Abigail Giles, Stephanie Colombini, who also edited today's episode, and Howard Weiss-Tisman. Our music is by Blue Dot Sessions. I'm Mitch Wertlieb. Talk to you tomorrow.